the most proven 3D printing application on Earth. Somewhere on a factory floor right now, a robot gripper just broke. Now, normally that would be a disaster. That gripper is usually machined of aluminum and built from multiple pieces, and a replacement could take 2 to 3 weeks just to make. The robot then sits idle. The entire line sits idle. Money is literally burning in the background. But at a growing number of factories, that same fix now happens overnight. The replacement prints while everyone sleeps, and it gets bolted on the next morning. And the new tool, it weighs 90% less than the aluminum one it just replaced. Now, this has been happening quietly for over a decade in the US, the UK, Germany, South Korea, different companies, different continents, the same numbers over and over. Today, we're going to be talking about end-of-arm tooling, or EOAT, the most proven, most documented use case for high-performance 3D printing on planet Earth. At Vision Miner, we spent nearly a decade helping companies print functional end-use parts in real engineering polymers like PEEK and Ultim and carbon fiber nylon, you name it. Our own 22 IDEX was built for exactly this kind of work, the one printing in the background right now. So this one hits close to home. Okay, so quick definition. End-of-arm tooling is whatever gets bolted onto the end of a robot arm. The gripper, the vacuum head, the hand of the robot. Now, here's the thing about robots. The arm is usually generic. The tooling is totally custom per customer, per application. Every single part that a robot touches needs a tool that's shaped or designed for that exact part or that exact task. And traditionally, every single one of those tools is machined aluminum. And that means through a machine shop, weeks of lead time and thousands of dollars each. So let's dive straight into a case study. Genesis Systems Group, a robotics systems integrator here in the US. They needed a vacuum end-of-arm tool that could pick up and hold a carbon fiber part. The traditional version of this was machined, a multi-piece aluminum assembly. They replaced it with a single piece, 3D printed out of Ultim 9085. The lead time went from 20 days down to 3. The weight went from 35 pounds down to 3 pounds. That's 91% lighter. And the cost itself dropped 94%. Now that weight reduction did something that nobody actually expected. A lighter gripper means the robot doesn't have to work as hard. Genesis could now spec smaller, cheaper robots for the exact same jobs. The savings compounded down the entire line. Doug Huston, their technical advisor, put it plainly. With a 3D printed gripper, you can now have a new tool, complete and bolted up to the robot within a day or so, instead of weeks. Now that case study was published back in 2014, over a decade ago. This isn't experimental. It's been settled for a long time now. So next up, let's talk about Rutland Plastics, a family-owned injection molder out in the UK. They've been in business since 1956, and they make around 100 custom tools a year. This is grippers for their cobots, plus jigs and fixtures and things of that nature. And the CNC aluminum they used to use cost them about $1,500 a piece and took 3 days each. A 3D printed carbon fiber nylon part of the same nature, 24 hours and $900. Now, I don't know where they're getting that material, but $900 a fixture sounds like Markforged or something. Either way, that's $60,000 a year in savings, and it freed up nearly 300 days of CNC time for actual revenue-generating parts. General Motors runs printed end-of-arm tooling, check fixtures, and hand tools across their production lines in carbon fiber nylon. Just one 3D printed hemming tool went from 75 pounds down to 33, and from 13 weeks of lead time down to 3. Robai, at a robotics company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, printed end-of-arm tools overnight that would have taken 70 hours of machining, $7,000 in 2 weeks the old way. 3D printed parts from their robot arms flew to the new International Space Station back in 2016. Now, little bit of credit where it's due. Most of these documented cases were printed on Stratasys machines. Stratasys built this category and did the work of proving it publicly. They did what they did over many years. What's changed today is what it costs to get you in on these savings. You no longer need a $250,000 machine to run the exact same polymers on your own shop floor. Now that's exactly why we built our own high-performance 3D printers like the 22IDEX back here, printing away. But more on that in a minute, or right now if you want, you can go to visionminer.com and check it out. But here's where end-of-arm tooling gets interesting. Grippers live in wildly different environments, and the material is the tool. If you need ambient temperature factory floor pick-and-place machines, carbon fiber nylon works great. It's rigid, it's light, it's tough, it prints accurately, and the dimensions stay accurate. And that's what GM and Rutland are doing every single day. But now, if you put that gripper next to an injection molding press that's super hot, or you're pulling parts out that are still hot, or you're near a welding cell, or in an autoclave oven or something of that nature, then standard nylon is just gonna cook and warp out of shape real quick. So those jobs need the high temperature tier like Ultim, PEC, and PEEK. If you're in semiconductor manufacturing, then you need static safe or ESD safe. PEEK is already an industry standard material for wafer handling grippers. It's non-reactive, it's particle-free. We've actually printed a ton of those over the years. And ESD-safe versions of these polymers protect the sensitive electronics from static discharge that would kill a chip. We've actually got a whole video on the history of ESD materials, so go check that out on our YouTube channel. Now, if you're handling delicate or maybe finished parts, then you actually want soft. TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane, basically 3D printable rubber, contact pads that grip a part without ever scratching it. Now this is exactly why we built the 22IDEX the way that we did. It's got 2 independent 500 Celsius hot ends, so you can process any polymer on the market, a 100 Celsius heated chamber to keep everything from warping, and a 200 Celsius bed to make sure it stays stuck on that first layer, and completely open materials, standard 1.75 millimeter filament, no lockouts, no RFID chips on the spools. Basically, one machine covers the entire range. ESD safe, high temp, carbon fiber rigid, rubber soft, and the 2 heads, they earn their keep. Some of our customers, they'll actually dedicate one to carbon fiber nylon or PEEK or something like that, and the other one to TPU. Depending on the job, they just run whichever side they need without material swaps or downtime or anything like that. And plenty of others love the duplication and mirror modes where you're printing with both heads at the same time. So you basically get 2 printers in one machine if you need a super fast production job. At the end of the day, when it comes to EOAT, end-of-arm tooling, if a robot needs to touch it, there's a polymer that you can print for it. And the 22IDEX prints every single one. So where's this all headed? Schmalz, a German company with 30 plus years in vacuum gripping, now lets customers configure a fully custom vacuum gripper online in about 10 minutes. And then it gets 3D printed. So think about that arc. 10 years ago, a printed gripper was a bold experiment. Now it's literally a 10-minute web order. And the market research agrees. End-of-arm tooling is projected to grow by about $1 billion between 2024 and 2028, with 3D printing named specifically as a driver. Now, I've been saying this for years, but the biggest ROI in 3D printing is not printing the end-use parts. That is great, and it is a good use, but it's about printing the manufacturing support parts, the end-of-arm tooling, the molds, the jigs, the fixtures. The vast majority of 3D printing happening around the world is actually never even seen by the public. Yes, there's a million bamboos and Bruces out there printing fun little trinkets and toys, and actually really functional parts too. But this industrial side is where the additive manufacturing industry actually lives. Over 70% of 3D printing happens in industry that you never even see. It's crazy. So if you run robots, automotive, medical, molding, aerospace, semiconductor fab, every single gripper, every nest, every fixture on your floor is a candidate for 3D printing. Our own 22IDEX prints the full material range that these tools demand, without the expensive lock-ins and licenses of legacy machines. And this is what we help businesses integrate into their shop floors every single day. So head over to visionminer.com, check out the machines that we offer, check out the Polymer catalog, all the different materials we can do, and if you need help, we're here to help. Just give us a call or shoot us an email, because the next time a gripper breaks at 2 a.m., it should be a print job, not a 3-week shutdown. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a positive rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.